Thank you very much, Minister. I think you were given a very succinct summary of the decisions taken at the ministerial meeting. Let me say that these ministerial meetings are of great importance to us because it allows the OECS Commission to serve a facilitating role in bringing together ministers of whatever the relevant portfolio is to create a forum for discussion of issues affecting the particular sector, an opportunity for ministers to share experiences and best practices, and very importantly, as the minister pointed out, to make decisions on the things that we need to do in order to boost our competitiveness and to realize the objectives of the revised Treaty of Basse-Terre. Now, as you know, we have made significant progress on the freedom of movement of people within the OECS. That is a reality for the citizens of the OECS. We recognize, however, that there are some impediments to travel, the cost of air travel, the ease of travel, including the issues of harassment. That when we say harassment, we really refer into the hassles of travel within the single space. We would like to make this as seamless an experience as possible for the citizens of that space. Our ultimate goal is to facilitate the free movement of people in the same manner that you move from St. George's to St. Andrews without any impediment, and that freedom of movement is enjoyed across the entire single space of the OECS. So a lot of the decisions made, the ministers were able to pinpoint the deficiencies in the process, the legislative and other administrative arrangements that need to be put in place in order to have that seamlessness of travel. And we also considered in some detail the implications of that for tourists visiting the OECS, so that a tourist entering the OECS space at any location will be able to move as freely as nationals of the OECS across that single space. So these, if you think about it, these things have very deep implications because let us say, for example, somebody coming from Kazakhstan may need a visa to come into any of the OECS states. If they land in Grenada, then the arrangement should be such, once they have a visa for entry into Grenada, it means entry into the rest of the OECS. So from entering Grenada, they could then move freely across the OECS states and depart from any of those states without any hassle. It's similar to if you get a Schengen visa and you go into Europe, you can travel all across Europe from whatever point of entry. So these are the kinds of initiatives that will really make our help to boost our economies, to make life much easier and more comfortable, and to deepen the integration process. The minister referred to the virtual tourism institute that we are setting up. It's called the OECS Network of Excellence for Tourism and Hospitality Training and Education. We are extremely excited about this because the design of this is going to be, it's a virtual institute, the hub of which is going to be based in Montserrat, but it will allow all of the community colleges of the OECS, the divisions of hospitality training, to move to a completely different level of operation. And we have identified the niche areas that need, for human resource development in the tourism sector, that need to be strengthened, or where training does not now exist that needs to be provided in order to enhance our tourism offering and to move tourism to the next level. So other decisions had to do with setting deadlines for, and in fact some of the deadlines have to do with trying to meet the beginning of the 2015-2016 winter session. There was a study done on intra-regional travel, and we felt that this was a very important area because we're not talking about tourists coming into the OECS, but the movement of people across. When you look at the statistics for the last year, visitor arrivals from all over the world in the OECS increased dramatically. However, intra-regional travel has fallen significantly. And that speaks, we believe, to some of the issues of the cost of travel and the difficulties of travel for OECS citizens. In a very real sense, the enlargement of the space of the OECS is an opportunity for us as OECS citizens to get to know each other better, to occupy that space, to make use of that wider market. So we need to put the measures in place that will ensure that business people, small entrepreneurs, hucksters, young people, students, exchanges of all kinds begin to happen across that single space so that we can begin to create a dynamic economy that does not look at itself in silos, in national silos, but occupies the full space of the OECS.
I've studied Dr. Jules. You mentioned about the training institute that will be based in Montserrat, and you said already they have identified some areas for training. Can you just explain, share a little more on what areas has been identified? And we understand it is virtual.
There are a number of areas that will be covered in this. First of all, each member state, each community college will have an area we've already identified, and that was based on a very scientific survey that was done of the capabilities of the community colleges of member states. So each community college will have an area of specialization. So the thinking there is that Montserrat would deal with what they call oenology and mixology. Now, oenology is, I guess, the high science of wine, the selection of wines and the use of wines and so on. Antigua and Barbuda will deal with luxury accommodation services. The BVI with baking and pastry arts. Dominica, nature and adventure tourism. Grenada, culinary tourism and gastronomy. Now, let me just pause a bit on Grenada. Culinary tourism and gastronomy. Look at what you all have done here with the Pure Grenada brand and the use of the creation of festivals like the Cocoa Festival, the Chocolate Festival, and the Nutmeg Festival, and so on, and other festivals. So you already have established some best practices in that area, and it's going to take Grenada's advantage even further. Montserrat will be dealing with specialized tour guidance, St. Kitts and Nevis tourism events and attraction management, St. Lucia spa and wellness operations, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines marine and coastal tourism. Now, Martinique is also part of the OECS, so we have not determined what would be the area of specialization for Martinique, but they too will, I'm pretty sure, be coming on board as well. So this is the areas of specialization by member states. So anybody in the OECS, for example, wanting to do culinary tourism and gastronomy, the modules and the program is going to be modular, it's online. Mm-hmm. Those programs will be designed largely using expertise in Grenada, but working with experts in that field from across the OECS and beyond. The delivery of those programs will be done from Grenada projected into that virtual space. If there's need for any on-site training, then some of that will be done in Grenada. So periods, it's like having to go, some people are doing distance programs, and sometimes they have to go for 2 weeks in every so many months to do practicals and so on. And Grenada would be the location for that. But the design of that program is such that from wherever you register, some of the practical work that has to be done will be done in your workplace. So there's that combination of study and industry experience and industry exposure.
An update on the joint promotional activities for the OECS.
At the OECS level, there's been this is one of the success areas in the last year, a real ramp up of collaboration among the member states. We have attended 3 international trade shows, 3 of which were in yachting, 2 of which were in yachting, in Toronto and Annapolis in the US. Yes. And we've actually participated in one major display area. The brand was the OECS Many Islands 1C. and each country had a booth within there, but it was part of a coordinated effort by member states. We tried a number of innovations. So, for example, there was a website we developed, the business cards used by the different representatives of the member states. Each business card was simply an iconic picture of yachting in that space, from that location country, and on the back of it was a QR code that once you scan that on a smartphone, it would jump you to the website where you would get all of the information on all the member states of the OECS. So if you want to come to Grenada, you go into the Grenada section of the site and it would give you all the details. This is more than just an informational website. It was meant to also be a service site with e-commerce capabilities. So ultimately, a yachtsperson will be able to buy navigation maps off that site. They'll be able to provision their boat even before coming. There's an initiative called the Clear Sail Initiative that allows people to do a lot in advance of actually physically arriving at the location to sail, to do all the necessary clearances, customs, immigration, and so on, pre-clearances. So when you arrive in Grenada to start your sailing, you maximize the time spent sailing and not spend time filling out forms and running around in customs. So that has been very successful. And the ministers at this meeting agreed that, again, to use to push the envelope further by testing out us doing an OECS roadshow in Europe, so that all of the member states of the OECS will combine resources. We will go on a roadshow in Europe to highlight all of the member states, the single space of the OECS, to encourage visitors to come. And that's going to see very strong private sector participation. So a lot of the hotels. We also spend some time looking at how do we take our best practices and move us further. Somebody asked the question earlier of the minister about the problems of tourism in Grenada and how we address it. But from our perspective, we don't just look at the problems and what we need to fix. We also look at the opportunities and what have been the successes and how do we heighten and emphasize those successes. So you'll see a lot of that effort being made in the coming months.
When will you that roadshow?
I don't have the date offhand, but it's one of the major. About 3 major shows. We have to decide which of them is going to be next year, 2016, early 2016. But we have to decide which of the major global shows we will participate in and when exactly we do the road show itself.
Those joint initiatives, approximately, how is it funded? Does each island contribute equally, or you contribute based on your population size?
Well, the joint shows that we've participated in so far have been funded by the Commission, largely using funds provided by the European Commission. To the extent that we can mobilize supporting resources, we will do so. But it may require that particularly the private sector who participating in those things make a contribution, as well as the tourist boards of the respective member states.
It is very difficult for individual states to set up booths individually in some of these shows. So this move is so very important. You can bring all resources together and you can create a serious impact at these booths, because some of the islands, some of them have the funds and they really create an impact. And sometimes, you have the islands that really have the beauty, cannot really bring it out in those small booths. But having to come together as, one grouping from the OECS, it really creates a serious impact. And I wasn't at the last one, but I was told, and I saw clippings of it, the impact that it created out there. So we really would really take this seriously on board.
And there are a lot of creative ideas that we bring into the table in this. The website I told you about made it, because of the QR code on the business card, it meant we didn't have to travel with, half a ton of brochures and so on to distribute, because it's all electronic. So we focus instead on having videos, promotional videos showing the different scenic locations across the member states. So the use of ICT, the use of videos, the booths themselves, what we're planning to do is to make our booths distinctive. Although it's say for example, even if it was a yachting conference we attended, but they displayed other stuff, right? Like some of the culinary products of the Caribbean, like Grenada chocolate and so on was on display, and you had the visitors had the opportunity to taste those chocolates. So as we go forward in the future, we want to make our booths dynamic by having artists from the region come and perform, on a rotating basis through the show, have displays, culinary displays. In other words, make it an ever-changing, vibrant booth that would attract and pull the crowd. And Caribbean culture does have that capacity, so.
Any more questions? Any more questions? Is that it from the press?
Okay, well, in closing, let me express, as I did at the end of the meeting, our deep appreciation to Minister and to her ministry and the government of Grenada for their support to this second meeting of the Council of Ministers, the very warm hospitality that was extended to us, and the excellent administrative arrangements that we were able to benefit from. Thank you.